like international male researchers are invited to speak about like serious international issues, while we are invited to talk about gender, whatever our subjects. So, so of course it's also a question of like fundings and panel organizations, but I found it quite interesting. On my side, so I've been working on what is seen back home in my research institutions on livestock trade, livestock export trade in Somali regions, of course focused on Somaliland, but in the Kilil Kashanad in the Somali region of Ethiopia, in Djibouti, with a geopolitical lens, which both livestock and geopolitics, I would say, are seen as male issues and are male-dominated as research areas. So that was my point. And so what my point was today that I found much more relevant to talk about, like, on this gender issue, not how a white female researcher is perceived on the field in Somaliland, because a bit like Tirsit and a bit like most of it, I guess, well, of course, I'm a woman, but I didn't feel I was particularly like stopped in my researches. But I was a lot from the Western institutions. So what is relevant to me is what being foreign, French, white, women researcher in Somaliland says about Western institutions and their relation to gender and their relationship with actually Somaliland. So sending a white woman in this unrecognized country of the Somalis that are widely seen as like wild and Muslim, which is considered as abnormal by this these normative institutions, abnormal for women in these normative global research institutions. And I found that much more relevant to question the Western research institutions. I don't know if you got my point. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. I think we could listen to Christina Wollner. I don't think she hears us. Is it okay?
I can hear you. Can
okay,
you all hear me?
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, we would like to hear your thoughts about this question also.
Yeah, I think the way this prompt was partly worded was how our research subjects shape our experiences also. And I think I'll just echo some of the things that people said, in that what we study and where we come from shapes the spaces that we're in, and I didn't come to explicitly study gender. I originally came to Somaliland to study the peace process and the role of kind of grassroots mobilization. And I was kind of, when I was doing that research, I was directed to certain types of people and institutions. And then I changed course kind of midway through and ended up studying love songs. And then was all of a sudden kind of sent to very different types of spaces. And although I wasn't studying gender, inevitably questions of gender relations came up in my research. And first of all, I spent a lot of time in artist spaces where men and women interact quite differently than they do in other places. And also the types of questions that I asked, and the ways that people perceive me also was impacted quite a lot. And also the fact that I'm white and I'm foreign. So I was, and I think, like Idil mentioned, this most often worked in my favor. So I could enter spaces that, I could enter women's spaces, and I could talk to women about certain issues in ways that a male researcher couldn't. But men also, I think, because I'm an outsider, and visibly an outsider, men felt more comfortable speaking to me than they might have to a local woman. Yeah, I think these issues will probably come up again and again, but I'll just start with that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I think we can jump on the other question if it's okay. So yes, my second question will be, I think, more about really being on the field. Did you, as you say, your position of researcher, but also outsider sometimes helps you. But also, did you encounter some constraints, some, I don't know, restriction, I think, concerning your research? Also, how did you were perceived by other people in Somaliland and everything?
Okay. Okay, so if I have to speak about, and also of course my speech is based on my own experience of entering research in Somaliland. So of course back home, before I came to like Somali territories in general, and Somaliland more particularly, what I've experienced is that very specific protocol has been put that I actually did not see with male researchers, that unfortunately all stopped at the master's level, but they were coming, I mean, free from any guards to Somaliland, just like with normal requirements for research on the field, whereas to me, there had been a specific, I had to be like embedded in an international NGO led by a non-Somali. And there was this specific email circle conversation. And actually my own experience was that I had been harassed by foreigners of, like, outsiders of Somaliland in Somaliland, whereas institutions had identified those people being there to protect me. And actually, I've been, I'm not going to tell you this whole story, but I've been actually saved from this harassment by the Somaliland Society. So, and up to the end of this story and my relationship to my research institutions back home, you know that, well, French were a bit backwarded with gender issues and gender-based violence. So at that time, like 17 years ago, it was not taken into account, like harassment. And being a female researcher, I was seen actually as maybe someone that was a bit like, just, how can you say that, express that, a girl that was like easygoing with men. Whereas, like, it was of course not the case. I was harassed by the head of an NGO working here, non-Somali, and not protected by my institutions. And that tells a lot, I think. And in the email circle, a lot was told, because I was saved by a family here, and a lot was told about, like, this is very strange that a Muslim family is welcoming a foreign girl. It is abnormal, and we are sure there is something insane going on. So it's very funny, because what actually the foreign institutions project on the Somali society, of course, first of all, is completely false, but tells a lot, you know, of what I was telling about being the normative institutions of what you can say or not say on those societies, and how, like, of course, the voice of women on the issues of gender-based violence, but also on the scientific issues, are being taken seriously. I talk about France like 17 years ago. Of course, I hope that in the Anglophone countries it's a bit different. But I think just it has maybe something to say. I don't want to jump on Christina either.
Christina, do you want to go first? If you want to comment, then I'll take it after you.
You can go. You can go first, and then I can go next.
Okay. Okay. Well, the thing of it is, I think within insider, outsider, or coming to Somaliland, probably those of you who are coming from the very far, and the one who's coming from Addis Ababa do not have the same layer of restrictions, and then also even closeness and connections. And I'm saying this from the point of how I myself evolved and how my space in Somaliland evolved along. Before I came, we all know that even going to the first place that I went as a Somali-speaking society is in Jigjiga. And my family was not even certain that Jigjiga even belonged to Ethiopia, let alone anywhere else. So when I decided to come to Somaliland, my family were against it, because they don't have, again, this understanding of Somaliland is a completely different country, a different place, and a situation of this everyday peace and security element that we see in the media is not the same. So it's not, so the fact that I am saying I'm going to go and do research in this society, back home in itself started as a restriction. And I'm an adult enough and they cannot tie me down, but it wasn't their prayers and their wish that I do not go into these spaces. So this is a kind of restriction and something that starts from back home and kind of give you that anxious in a little bit. And it goes the same way with institutions. I was fortunate enough, I was not blocked by my institution when I decided to say I'm going to do my field research in Somaliland. But in a way, it was clear to me, like they're not responsible. I have to navigate anything and everything on my own, and it's up to me. So this is something, again, even before you arrive, and then quote-unquote assume in the space that you're going to have difficulty, it starts from the space, and this comes from the misconception and then the information access and everything that we have. Once I came to Somaliland, of course, it's a different culture, a different environment. The way of dressing and everything that I was back home and what I have to be and I am in Somaliland is different. And I'm saying this also in a way because at the beginning, you know how we struggle with our hijabs. Now I know I find a way to tie it down and I'm okay. But that was a clear indicator for the community that I am an outsider. So in a way, I have to struggle in making sure that I'm taken as, I'm not infringing or I'm really respectful of the culture and I am happy to be part of that system. But somehow that is something that I had to negotiate with the kids on the street, with people that I'm meeting and the like. And at the beginning that was a bit of, even if it is not in the everyday research or even if it's not in the core information that I had to go to my research, but on my way or on my process of moving to those spaces and being able, it has that element of layering. But I would say now, and again I play basketball, so that is not research, but that is another space that I was given as a Ethiopian or as a foreigner, was given a better space that I could be able to engage and play and then be in a different expectation than that of the local female basketball players. So that is a navigation and a process that I was going through. But now it's 10 years. I'm going to celebrate my 10 years of staying in Somaliland. Now, and now I'm considered a Somalilander. And the expectations and the elements that come with it is also evolving and changing. To the most enabling, because now I'm considered one, and it is giving me, again, access and support. In another way, also is bringing the expectation of the local female researchers, young girls who wants to play basketball, and everything that is within the woman, that is something that comes. So I just want to say, these are the layers of enablers and challenge that I have gone through to be what I am today.
Yeah, so I have in some ways similar experiences. I came here not affiliated with an international organization of any sort. Like I said, my first summer was with a local women's organization, and that actually helped in many ways gain legitimacy with my institution, was what they called my network on the ground. But I like was mentioned in the panel a panel yesterday too. Part of what makes this really difficult is foreign countries' categorization of Somaliland in their like State Department, Ministry of like Foreign Affairs kind of categorizations of the country as part of Northern Somalia, however correct that may be. And so a process that should have taken 1 to 2 days, but perhaps a week to get approval to come to Somaliland ended up taking almost 3 months for me, going to a panel and convincing a panel of predominantly white men that I was not going to the place that they had seen in American movies. Like I had a professor tell me, you're going to go to a panel and you're going to talk to a bunch of men and they're going to say she looks like my daughter and she's going to the place that we saw in these movies. And so that was certainly difficult. But once I was here, I had signed all the paperwork saying that I wouldn't be out past dusk, that I would take all of these security precautions. But once I was here, I largely had the freedom to do as I pleased and felt very safe. But yeah, that institutional categorization certainly challenged my getting here, at least the first time. But on the ground,